press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Russia to meet with President Vladimir Putin in Sochi. The two leaders will have an informal meeting at Russia's invitation. The pair is expected to discuss a wide range of bilateral, regional and global issues, including America's withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal. Now, Prime Minister Modi says he hopes the talks will further strengthen what he describes as the special and privileged strategic relationship between the two countries. President Putin will also travel to India for a regular bilateral summit later in the year. And now for more on Modi's visit to Russia, let me bring in our correspondent Julia Lyubova. She's live for us in Moscow. Julia, what details can you share with us about the issues that the two leaders will discuss?
Well, indeed, India's Prime Minister has arrived in Sochi, and of course he's here for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin earlier said that this meeting is going to be of an informal nature, and of course the focus for this meeting will be international and regional issues. Also, they will discuss Russian-India relations, of course, and both countries have been enjoying very friendly ties over a long period now. Military and economic partnership between India and Russia will also be high on the agenda. Of course, they will be discussing issues related to bilateral trade between Russia and India, and also within the framework of BRICS, of which both countries are members of. Also, they will be discussing nuclear energy cooperation, and also they will raise the question of Russia's recent war into Pakistan, and of course the situation in Afghanistan, which is very important for both Russia and for India, of course, the stability in Afghanistan. So all of that will be raised in that informal summit between Russian and Indian leaders in Sochi today.
Well, we understand that the leaders of both nations have been holding formal bilateral summits since the year 2000, and later this year the two leaders, Putin and Modi, will meet again. So what exactly is the difference between the informal summit and the annual bilateral summit?
Well, indeed, so Russia and India have been holding, Russian and Indian leaders have been holding summits annually, and since the year 2000, they've been taking place alternately in Moscow and in New Delhi. So one year it's taking place in Moscow, and the next is taking place in New Delhi. It's always an informal meeting, a kind of a meeting between two friends, and it's not really so much as a meeting to discuss any pressing urgent matters, but really a meeting to discuss informal issues informally, to reaffirm their cooperation, their ties, discuss ways to even grow on the established cooperation further. And of course, Vladimir Putin and Modi, they actually enjoy a very close personal relationship, so plenty to discuss during those annual summits, those informal meetings. Both leaders said that they intend on having such meetings of this format every year, and of course they have significant strategic importance to both countries, and an opportunity for informal talks between the two leaders.
Well, thanks so much, Julia Lyubova, live for us in Moscow. India and Russia have a long strategic partnership that covers areas such as military and economic ties. The leaders of the two countries meet every year for a bilateral summit. The two governments also have high-level interactions in the fields of trade, the economy, and technology. India is the second largest market for the Russian defense industry. In 2017, nearly 70% of India's military hardware imports came from Russia. The two countries have also developed ties in the peaceful use of nuclear energy. In 2014, the two countries set a target of $30 billion in bilateral trade by year 2025. And trade volume rose by more than a fifth last year. And we want to get some more insights now, and let me bring in Dr. Ritihusha Manitwari. She is an assistant professor at the Department of Political Science at the Shahid Bhagat Singh College University of Delhi. Welcome to Asia Today, Professor. So analysts say that there's certain geopolitical dancing between these three countries. What is your take on the idea that India is moving away from Russia and toward the U.S.?
Well, I beg to differ in this regard, because there have been many speculations about India's relations with one country or the other, and India developing its relations with one country at the cost of another. But these speculations are hardly substantiated by hard facts, because if you look at India-Russia relationship, for instance, it's been a long and time-tested foreign policy relationship. It has served as a pillar of India's foreign policy for the last 70 years. And to say that India has been veering away from Russia is not in consonance with the kind of multi-level, multifaceted foreign policy that India extends towards Russia. This bilateral is not just a bilateral, but it's a crucial multilateral initiative of which India and Russia are a part. So if you look at India, Russia, China, a strategic triangle that the Russian leadership has been trying to promote in the last 2 decades, India is a crucial part of that. And looking at this bilateral as an integral part of the multilateral multipolarity that is emerging in Asia specifically is very, very important. So any analysis of India-Russia relationship should not really ignore this particular perspective.
Now,
that's my take.
Yes, as we speak right now, we were seeing some live feed from where the two leaders are meeting. Let me also ask you this, Professor. You mentioned the two countries share a time-tested relationship. And in 2010, the strategic partnership between Russia and India was elevated to a level of a special and privileged one. So could you elaborate more about this relationship and what outcomes have been achieved under that?
Well, the special and privileged relationship from the point of view of both India and Russia is based on multiple factors. So for instance, if we look at Russia, at least 3 factors are pushing it towards a closer proximity with India. So the first one being the eastward expansion of NATO, and therefore the hegemonic presence of US in Asia, which pushes Russia not just towards India but also China. So that's the first factor. The second factor from the point of view of Russia is the presence of an arms market. So its defense market is actually burgeoning in not just in India but China, them alone accounting for 70% of the import of the arms. And the third factor is, of course, the problem of militancy and terrorism that both India and Russia as well as China face together. So looking at from the point of view of India, you have another 3 factors. The first one is that its energy requirements and demands are met from Russia. The second one is that the space and science and technology cooperation is something that India looks up to in case of Russia. And the third one is its quest for multipolarity, and its status as an emerging power is actually strengthened with this multilateral, multi-level, closer engagement with Russia. So to look at India-Russia relations in these particular perspectives would be very helpful while analyzing the idea of special and privileged strategic partnership. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Professor Tiwari, for your insight on this. Well, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin are now meeting in Sochi, and CGTN will keep you updated on the achievements of their meeting. And we now